replay a breakup wondering why it had to end? Why if it didn't happen to you, but it happened for you? In this episode of From Breakup to Badass, I am diving into one of the most liberating mindset shift you'll ever make. If it ended, it's because it was supposed to. Because if it's not love, it's a lesson. And lessons are how you grow into the woman that you were always meant to be. So welcome to another episode of From Breakup to Badass. I am Yanira, your host, speaker, wellness coach, and your guide through the messy, beautiful journey of rebuilding after a heartbreak. And if you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another podcast episode. And if you love this podcast, leave a review because I would love to hear from you. Today's episode, wow, it's one of that hits you deep because it's about learning to trust endings. And I know sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's challenging, but if it ended, it's because it was supposed to. Something better, something more aligned is making its way to you. And I think I talked about it a little bit when we talk about the universe, trust the universe, in one of the episodes of the podcast. And, when you're ready, you get to change your story. So you go from heartbreak and insecurity to the lesson that you learn. Because remember, if it's not love, it's a lesson. Okay. So when a relationship ends, your brain, and I have talked about this before, register it has a loss of safety, identity, and belonging as well. According to research from the UCLA and the Journal of Neuropsychology, breakup grief activates the same neural pathways as withdrawal from addiction, like addiction from alcohol, cocaine, any drugs, cigarettes. So that's why you crave the contact with your ex. It's dopamine deprivation, not destiny. That's why we want to call them. We want to talk to them. We want to text them because we need it in our life, or that's what our brain is wired, because your brain is wired for attachment. So when it actually ends, your nervous system panics. Like, who am I now? What will happen to me now? And it goes to stress, to the flight or fright, right? And you know what? That is normal. It's not weakness. It's biology. That's something going on in your brain that is making you want this more and more and not let go, right? So one of the things that you could do, ask yourself, like, what part of me is actually grieving? Like the relationship or the version of myself the version of myself I was inside that relationship. And this is something really important. And one of the things that I recommend my clients to do is journal. Maybe journal for 5 minutes with this in mind. Answer this. What hurts most about this ending? What is it? And keep writing while you uncover what's really underneath. Is it fear? Is it loss? If is it shame or disconnection? I remember at the beginning, like I felt like the black sheep of the family, like the only one who has gotten divorced twice, the only one who doesn't have kids. So that hurt me, and that it hurt what I thought my family was going to think about me because I couldn't make it happen. So that's one of the things that hurt for me. Another thing is that I had built, a 7-year relationship, and I was a different person when I was in the relationship. And I talked about it before, but we kind of lose our identity when we are in a relationship. And I think that's part of being a woman. I think we should work on it. At least I am working on it, to lose myself in the next relationship. So that's a very simple exercise. Remember what hurts most about this ending is, and then you start writing. Is that I lost my security, I lost my house, I lost the vacation together, I lost the chance of being with somebody. And when I say it over and over, but when you put it in writing, you actually see what's inside of you that maybe you are not aware. And when you put it in writing, it's like you give it less power. And this is something really important. So if it's not love, it's a lesson. And I love this because this is when you do the mindset reframe. And this works for like everything in your life when you change the story. So every relationship is a classroom, it's not a cage. Some teach you, okay, what love feels like, but others teach you what love is not. And again, this is the important part that I don't see it as a failure, I see it as a lesson. There is this phrase that maybe I have mentioned to you before, but when you focus on the pain, you're going to keep suffering. But when you focus on the lesson, you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep learning. So if we could do that mindset shift and focus on the lesson instead of the pain, we're going to keep growing and you're going to get through this. That's a fact if you do this over and over. And this is something that we learn because the more we do the mindset shift, the more we're going to learn. There is a study that was done in 2020 in the Journal of Positive Psychology, and it said that people who reflect on the lesson. So instead of saying why he left me or why the relationship didn't work, you focus on, okay, so what happened? What is this teaching me? What should I learn? So the people who reflect on the lessons learn more from emotional pain, show that 60% higher emotional resilience and faster mood recovery. Remember, the idea of this, the idea that we talked about it, it's not like we're going to forget about it, because this is not forgetting. This is forgiveness. This is understanding. This is learning, right? But the idea is that the recovery and how you go from breakup to badass is faster. And my question for you, do you want the slow way or the fastest way? And of course, I mean, I guess we're all gonna say, yeah, I want to recover even faster. So the things that I'm showing you in this podcast is because, yes, I went through it and I want you to come, to become the woman, the badass that is inside of you. So the healing begins actually in the moment you start asking, what was this trying to teach me? And I think I mentioned in the first episode when I told my story that, I had like a year after I had my aha moment, I always knew, just because what life has taught me is that every single adversity is a lesson. So I knew this was going to be a lesson. That didn't mean that it didn't hurt. Yes, I did cry. I was disappointment. I was scared. I had all these feelings. However, I knew it was for the best. And when that happened, and I was sitting a year later, I got divorced. I was sitting a year later, teaching or actually doing a workshop for the women in the Winnet jail. And it was beautiful. It was 2 hours, me, giving strategies that they could use inside the jail and outside. And after the 2 hours, I cried. I was emotional, crying of happiness, because then I understood my purpose, and my purpose was given. And that is why it happened, why in my case it needed to change. So every time you do this kind of introspection, that you talk to yourself, you can actually learn from it. So I remember one of my clients actually last week, let's call her Adriana, she said, he taught me what I will never accept again. Look how beautiful what she said. He taught me what I will never accept again. And in my case, for example, I'm never losing myself again for a relationship like I have done in the past. And I think I mentioned to you Gabby Bernstein in the last episode. She's always talking about the universe as the force, right? And she says that the universe will always keep giving you the same lesson until you learn from it, right? And this is what it is. Every adversity, I mean, the way I see it right now, every adversity that has happened to me, it happened for a reason. And always, without any exception, it was for the better. Always I became a better version of myself, and hopefully this is going to happen to you. And remember, this is not happening to you, it's happening for you. When you can change that mindset, I promise you're going to feel better. And one of the exercise that I always recommend as well is the lesson letter, right? Write a letter to your past relationship, starting with, thank you for teaching me this. Thank you for teaching me how to love myself. Thank you for teaching me my purpose in life. Thank you for teaching me. And remember, this is about gratitude as well. And when you include gratitude, and I know maybe at the beginning you don't feel that way, but you don't feel like you didn't teach me anything, you did everything wrong, whatever it was, but list what you learn about your boundaries, about your worth, about your needs, and your resilience. You don't have to send it. Remember, all these exercises are for you. Just read it out loud, and maybe you can burn it or delete it if you do it in your computer, just like I always write in my computer. And that could be, when you delete it or when you burn it, it could be like the graduation. It's like letting go, a ritual of letting go of that, or the things that keeping you stuck in the present moment, right? So that's important. I think, something related to this is trust the timing. I know sometimes it could be hard and challenging to think, like, why did this happen to me and why now, right? I could have said in that moment, wow. I mean, I think I thought about it. I was married, I was starting, my coaching business. So I wasn't in the same position that I was before when I was working in a company. So it crossed my mind, like, why did it happen now? Like, when I don't have a steady income. And I know it's normal, but so healing is not about finding the closure, it's about building the certainty. And I love this word. I love certainty. Certainty that even when you can't see the full picture, the universe, God, the creators is there with you. I mean, whatever is the force that moves you, right? Certainty is like faith, like having faith, like having that certainty that everything is going to work out for the best. There is a research that Dr. Christine Neff did on self-compassion that shows that people who practice trust and self-kindness during uncertainty recover 40% faster from emotional trauma. And I know it could be tough, like something that at some point I said, like, I don't see the light at the end at the end of the tunnel, but there is a light, and maybe the light is you inside the tunnel. And I know you might be recovering, you might be in the middle of the divorce, but there is light out there. And maybe the light, it's inside of you. And if you trust, and if you do the work, you cannot trust and just, be sitting in your couch watching Netflix and doing nothing. You have to do the work. You have to write it down. You have to feel your emotions and everything. But yes, you can recover faster. And there is a phrase that is something like, what's meant for you can't miss you, and what's not meant for you can't stay, or something like that. Maybe, in this area, maybe we can just do some reflection questions, like, where might life be redirecting me right now? I think it was last episode when I was mentioning that sometimes the kind of things that happen to us, maybe it's redirecting us in a different, in the right path, you know, or, what's trying to grow in the space that open up. For me, it was my career. For me, it was my growth. I grew so much after my divorce. Why? Because I knew, even though I was in pain, I knew there was a lesson behind. And I took the time to heal and to put it in practice and to do everything that I knew in my power that was going to make me don't, you know, to not be stuck in the process for too long. And, another question could be like, how would I behave if I truly believed the universe had my back, or God, had my back, or the creator? I don't know. Just trust in it, right? You can write, maybe this is, I'm going to give you an exercise that I really love. When I did a coaching program with my coach in Colombia, Santiago, and I was like, oh my God, like in the moment, I was changing careers in that moment, right? From 15, no, for 20 years in corporate America to, okay, like, what am I going to do now? And I didn't feel my best. We were going through a process. Well, I was going through a process. He was actually helping me and guiding. That's why I love coaches. But he made me do a timeline, like from the present to 2 years from the past to the past. And he said, like, put everything that has happened to you and what you have achieved. And in the moments, like when, and he made me think about those moments of adversity and what I did. And it was so beautiful, because when I saw it again, when I saw it in a piece of paper, in a line, everything that I went through and how I overcame each situation, and it was even better. So each memory each memory could be a proof that you are guided and you're not forgotten. So how do we go from the lesson to power, from the adversity to that badass? So when you integrate the lesson, the pain transform into purpose. That's when you stop saying, why me? We have talked about this, or I have talked about this in the past, the victim person. You cannot change your life. You cannot transform your life in victimization mode, or victim mode. So when you stop saying why me and start saying thank you for showing me the way, thank you for teaching me this, forgiveness flows easier, confidence rebuilds naturally, and you actually step into the woman who doesn't chase love. She creates it. And that's what's happening to me. I was actually having lunch with a very good friend of mine, Mike, when I did my MBA at Emory University. And we were talking actually about this on, how I was telling him, like, how I feel like so good with myself that I'm not chasing a relationship or love, because I am enough for me. And that doesn't mean that I don't want a relationship. Actually, I'm open to one, but I'm not chasing love. And I am working to be the person who I want to be with. Wow, that's very deep. So that's why it's important to, this part of loving yourself, to create the badass that you are inside. There is a research from Stanford Forgiveness Project that people who reframe painful experiences as growth opportunities, and we're talking about the same thing, experience a 70% decrease in self-criticism and increase in life satisfaction. So yes, if you can reframe every adversity that happens to you, and you can reframe it to a lesson, to growing, to evolving, you are going to be less critic of yourself, and you're going to increase your life satisfaction. You know what? Yes, I want to do that. I remember when I used to work with my coach in Colombia, he hired me to actually coach some other people. And every time I would have a new client and we were actually doing the program, and at the beginning we talk about the goals and the objective, and what the final objective that each of us have, it's to be happy, to be in peace. Yes, so we are going to be happy if we actually reframe the adversity. Remember, if it's not love, it's a lesson. So one of the things that I love, and it's a practice that I do, and I have them all in my phone. I have different manifestations or positive affirmations. Some things that you can say is that I release the need to relive the past, or I honor what I learned, or I trust what's unfolding, or I'm becoming the woman I was meant to be. And remember that affirmations are really important, but they have to be true to yourself, and they have to resonate with you. So, these are some examples, but you need to believe in them, or like practice it so much that you actually become that. Let's close with this. Look, if it ended, it's because it was supposed to. It's not rejection, it's redirection. And it's not punishment, it's protection. And it's not failure. You are not a failure. It's your next chapter being written right now. So remember, if it's not love, it's a lesson. And lessons don't actually break you, they actually build you. Let's give you some journal prompts. When you end up listening to this episode. So we talk about this. What did this Andy make space for in my life? I love this. For me, it makes space for me, for more meditation, for more exercising, for being around family, for being around friends, for being in a city that I hadn't been here for 12 years, and I love this city. My friends are here, my family are here. I didn't have anybody in Colombia but him and his family. So, that's a good prompt. Then what part of myself am I reclaiming now? What do you want to become? And how can I honor this lesson with gratitude instead of pain? I cannot mention enough the power of gratitude in your life. So remember, if it's not love, it's a lesson. And if this episode opened something inside you, go download the free From Breakup to Badass cheat sheet. It's full of reflection tools and embodiment practices to help you rebuild with peace, power, and actually purpose. And share this episode with someone who's ready to stop hurting and start learning. And tag me on Instagram at Yanira Pui Wellness. And that's what I have for you today. Today was a very special episode, and I'm going to leave you with the same thing that I leave you every single week. Remember, you've got this. Now go live like the badass that you are.